Hello, it's very good to have you with us at this hour. I'm Daniel Che. Let's start with our top story, domestic politics. Korea's election watchdog has submitted a new electoral map to the parliament. With the general elections in April fast approaching, they hope to get it passed on Monday. Standing in the way, an opposition-led filibuster. Shin Se-min starts us off.
The ball is back in the parliament's court. Just 45 days before a parliamentary election slated for April 13th, the National Election Commission's Redistricting Committee has reached agreement on a new electoral map after months of back and forth between the rival parties. The new map allocates 253 of the parliament's 300 seats to district representatives, up from the previous 246, and 47 to proportional representatives. The election watchdog submission comes amid an ongoing filibuster initiated by the main opposition Minju Party of Korea over a ruling party-backed counterterrorism bill. The question now is whether the party will end the filibuster to allow a vote on the electoral map at a plenary session scheduled for Monday. Under the current law, a parliamentary session cannot proceed with a filibuster in progress. However, the end of the filibuster would automatically bring the disputed counterterrorism bill introduced last week by the Assembly Speaker up for a vote as well. The Minju Party claims the counterterrorism bill will give the nation's spy agency too much power to conduct surveillance on citizens.
Our party doesn't oppose the whole counterterrorism bill. All we want is to remove a clause within it that gives extra power to the National Intelligence Service.
The ruling Saenuri Party says the bill will protect citizens in the wake of threats from North Korea and beyond.
It is deplorable to see opposition lawmakers carrying out this relay filibuster without any consideration for national security or the people's livelihoods.
If the filibuster continues to delay the vote on the new electoral map, the opposition will no longer be able to avoid criticism for holding up legislative affairs. Pundits are predicting the two main rival parties will find a way to reach a compromise before the scheduled vote on Monday, because with the election looming, too much is at stake. Shin Se-min, Arirang News.
With March 1st Independence Movement Day right around the corner, anticipation is growing for an address to be delivered by President Park Geun-hye, especially given the timing of the occasion. The speech comes after the U.S. submitted a draft resolution to the UN imposing the strongest sanctions yet on North Korea following its recent string of provocations. And it follows a landmark deal with Japan on the wartime sexual slavery issue. Analysts expect the president to deliver a strong message to Pyongyang, urging the regime to denuclearize, while warning the pursuit of nuclear weapons will only lead to the regime's collapse. To Tokyo, President Park seems set to emphasize the importance of staying true to its bilateral agreement with Seoul and to stop efforts to backtrack on the deal. China's top nuclear envoy is in Seoul for a 5-day trip, joined by his South Korean counterpart in voicing support for a UNSC draft resolution sanctioning North Korea. However, thorny issues such as THAAD weren't discussed. Kwon So-hwa fills us in.
South Korea and China's top envoys to the six-party denuclearization talks gave high marks to the unprecedented sanctions on North Korea, which are likely to be passed by the UN Security Council soon.
The two sides have agreed to support the adoption of a new UN Security Council resolution in response to North Korea's nuclear test and satellite launch.
We see eye to eye on the idea that North Korea needs to make qualitative improvements in its thoughts and actions, and that it's now time for a turning point in the 25 years of dealing with the North Korea nuclear issue.
Hwang also stressed the importance of bilateral strategic talks between Seoul and Beijing toward greater cooperation among the 5 six-party talks members, excluding North Korea. Wu Da-wei, China's special representative for Korean Peninsula affairs, is on a 5-day trip to South Korea, his first in 5 years, to exchange views with his South Korean counterpart and other officials on the international response to North Korea's recent violations and the situation on the Korean Peninsula. Earlier in the day, Wu told reporters, as strategic cooperative partners, China and South Korea could discuss just about any issue on the basis of their mutual respect for one another. That seemed to be an indication that the possible deployment to South Korea of the U.S. missile defense system known as THAAD, which China opposes, is on the table too. However, Seoul's six-party talks representative Hwang Jung-guk told reporters that his Chinese counterpart made no comment on the THAAD deployment. Ever since China reached agreement with the U.S. on the draft UN resolution, there has been rising speculation that the two countries may have reached a compromise on THAAD, as Seoul and Washington recently delayed their first official talks on the matter. The issue could come up at some point during Wu's visit, including at a meeting with Seoul's Foreign Minister Yoon Byung-se Monday. Kwon So-ah, Arirang News.
The reclusive communist state's leader Kim Jongun thanked North Koreans who have volunteered for military service. According to the North state-run Korean Central News Agency and Korean Central Television Sunday, Kim sent a letter of appreciation praising the some 1.5 million, including laborers and students, for their will to serve the regime. The letter comes within 2 days after the Supreme Command of the North's military issued a statement denouncing an upcoming South Korea-U.S. military drills, warning of a preemptive strike on targets in Seoul and Washington. Also, the Nodong Shinmun newspaper called the U.S. an evil empire obsessed with its theory of weapons being the key to win wars. The U.S. recently test-fired a ballistic missile which was seen as a display of its nuclear arms capability intended for North Korea. Economic policymakers from the world's 20 biggest economies vowed to fight terrorism by closing loopholes and rooting out deficiencies in the global financial system. In a communique following a meeting in Shanghai, the G20 officials urged the France-based Financial Action Task Force to intensify its work on identifying, analyzing, and tackling terrorist financing threats, as well as the sources and methods of funding. Since the November Paris terror attacks, some 50 countries have responded to a new call by the task force to cut off funding to terrorists. The FATF's blacklist includes North Korea, Afghanistan, and Syria, and has recently advocated greater attention on Pyongyang. South Korea's finance minister says he is ready to counter any sharp currency swings after the Korean won's recent tumble against the greenback. Yuiro told reporters on Sunday he is keeping close tabs on the foreign exchange market as the Korean currency has faced increasing volatility amid global financial instability. The won closed at a 6-year low of 1,239 on Thursday. The minister said it is necessary to resume a currency swap deal with the U.S., which expired in 2010, to stabilize the market. He did not elaborate on any other changes that would lead to a government intervention. March will bring some dramatic shifts in the global economy as currency volatility, plunging oil prices, and a potential Brexit seem set to deliver a triple whammy. For starters, there's no telling what the outcome of a March gathering between 4 key oil producers will be, and the monetary policies of the European Central Bank and the Bank of Japan will also be X factors. The biggest fear stems from the possibility of the UK departing the EU. Britons will vote in a June 23rd referendum on the matter, and public opinion in the country on the matter is evenly split for now. The departure would deliver an especially powerful blow to Korea, whose exports to the UK would no longer benefit from the tariff exemptions in its FTA with the EU. South Korea's science ministry says it has secured over $17 million for its lunar exploration project. In phase 1 of its $160 million 2-year plan, the ministry envisions sending an orbiter to the moon, followed by a landing vessel. In phase 2, it will be sending up an independently developed launch vehicle. The ministry also plans to develop an orbiter and a ground station using domestic technology. Seoul will coordinate with foreign agencies, including NASA, to develop the payloads. Coffee aficionados proceed with caution. Too much could lead to osteoporosis. In contrast, moderate consumption could help prevent it. Woo Soo-young shares with us the results of a recent study.
Most of us go for a customary cup of coffee after dinner. And that's the case for Hwang Tae, a 60-year-old woman living in Seoul.
Coffee smells so good. I love savoring the flavor and the aroma.
But that's bad news for coffee lovers. Research from Seoul National University Hospital shows that too much caffeine in your daily cup of joe disrupts your system from absorbing calcium. This can lead to osteoporosis, a bone-thinning disease. Drinking more than 3 cups of coffee a day, a total of 330 milligrams of caffeine, exposes you to the risk. But that's not to say you should cut out coffee completely. In fact, drinking 2 cups a day decreases the chances of getting the disease by 36%, while 1 cup a day reduces the risk by 33%. For women hitting menopause, 2 cups of coffee a day can actually boost bone density.
Research shows that women who drink no more than 2 cups a day have lower chances of getting osteoporosis. This is because a sensible intake of caffeine stirs antioxidative and anti-inflammatory activities.
Researchers say it's best not to add the cream and sugar, and those who are sensitive to caffeine or have abnormal heartbeats should refrain from drinking coffee altogether. 오수영, Arirang News.
2 people died in a plane crash in western Seoul this evening. A light aircraft crashed at Gimpo International Airport in western Seoul on Sunday at around 6:53 p.m., killing the 2 people on board, the pilot and the sole passenger. The Seoul Regional Office of Aviation said the cause of the crash has not been identified. Reports say the plane lost communication shortly after takeoff. The HL-1153 plane belongs to Hala Sky, a local pilot school. Immediately after the incident, a state-run Korea Airports Corporation deployed a special investigative team dedicated to the case. Other flights at the airport are operating as scheduled. And now a look at the weather. Korea had 10 centimeters of snowfall in some parts of the country on Sunday, so people heading out on Monday morning will want to watch out for slippery roads and pavements. Temperature-wise, Seoul will start the day at -5 degrees Celsius, Chuncheon at 7 below, and Gwangju at -1. Later in the day, Seoul will get up to 2 degrees above zero. Same applies to Chuncheon and Gwangju. And now here's the weather conditions around the world. And that's a wrap for us. As always, thank you for watching.